Yay! Hello, everyone. Happy Fierce Female Friday. We made it. We were singing "We Are Women, Heroes Roar" in the green room because, oh my goodness, we feel like warriors today. We made it. So thank you to those of you who are signing in. We know that we're late. We appreciate the grace, and we're happy that you're here. Let us know that you are here. Let us know where you're watching from. We always love to get an idea of where the viewers are hanging out. Are you on your deck? Are you at your friend's place today? Masks on, of course. What are you up to? Fill us in. You have likely followed the show and seen it at least once or twice, so you know the flow. We're going to wait for a couple minutes here as we get rolling. Then Sarah's going to share a fantastic update from CAR. Leslie will grace us with her economic update of the week. And then we're going to flow into a fantastic conversation with our special guest today. Colleen is here. Colleen Badagliacco. Badagliacco. I love it. I love saying your last name. So for those of you who have not purchased your tickets yet, IamWomanUp.com right now, right this very second. Grab your phone, pull it up, buy your ticket, get on it. We've got a couple dozen more of the VIP swag kits left. And once those are gone, they're gone. So get your tushies over to the website and get your tickets. If you already did get your tickets, it's swag time. We have designed an entire line of 2020 virtual experience swag for you. Hats, mugs, t-shirts, journal. There's even a button for those of you who collect the buttons every year. So make sure you get your swag on, get that ordered because, COVID, shipping. We never know when things are going to show up. So get that going. And I think that's it. We're going to be sharing a couple of fun videos and programs over the next week to get you excited to build some more buzz. So keep an eye out for those. But without further ado, I'm passing the mic to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Deborah. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. So for many of our industry leaders who are on our Friday calls, they already know this, but I did want to share this with everybody. We're listening, the PEDV forms are killing you. We know creating, sending them, managing them have been a huge pain point. And what was wonderful is that our team asked our partner Glide to work with us to fix those problems. And they've done just that. So they have a webinar, a series of webinars. One will post in the links down below. There's a recording. And I can't speak to how they're fixing the problems, but everybody who has been a part of that webinar has given great feedback. It has been a godsend to realtors in the field here in California. So we're so grateful for our partner at Glide, and they are also making Glide available for free to all members. And you need MLS functionality to kind of work in between, but one of the biggest MLSs here in Southern California, CRMLS is live with Glide integration, and there are other MLSs across the state that will be or are already on that list. So if you have any questions, you can pop them down below, or we'll connect you with the Glide team, and we'll get you all set up. We'll share the link to all of the webinars, recorded and future. And one last reminder, next week we have Brenda Meyer, who's the chair of the Education and Scholarship Foundation. They are dedicated to sending any human who wants to be a part of WomanUP to WomanUP. So we want you to know that the applications are available, and thanks to Sandy on Wednesday reminded the community of that. They're available through August 14th. So if you know someone, if you want to come, you're just not sure, they are giving away 80 tickets to WomanUP. So get your applications in. And with that, I will pass over the Facebook Live floor to Leslie.
Great. Thanks so much, Sarah. And hi, everybody. I have just a couple of things I want to talk to you about with the market, because I can't wait to get into a discussion with Colleen. That's just such a thrilled to have you on the show, Colleen. But what happened this week? Well, if you any media you consumed yesterday, I'm sure you heard that GDP dropped 32.5% in the second quarter. Please understand it did not really drop 32.5% in the second quarter. That is the seasonalized annual rate. It's the annual rate, annualized rate, seasonally adjusted. The real drop was about 9.5% following the 5% drop in the first quarter. So it's still big. It's still unprecedented. It's still, we haven't seen this since the 20s, but it's not quite, how numbers are. We had 75% of that was due to a decline in consumer spending. Restaurants, healthcare, services, all of that. And we also saw a drop in trade. We also saw a drop in business investment, but we had an increase in federal government spending and local and state, as well, as we're trying to support the unemployed. And believe it or not, the savings rate was up 25.7%. So some of that relief is being spent, absolutely, but some of it is being saved as people try to parse things out and see how long this is going to take. We also had the initial claims for unemployment. I talk to you about that every week. It came out yesterday and it actually increased a little bit as well. So after 4 months of going down every month, every week, the last 2 weeks, we have seen an increase. We also had a pullback in consumer confidence. June confidence was up to 98.3. The July number was 92.6. So, the economy was shut down in March and April. We started to bring it back in May and June. As you look backwards, it looks like that was a little bit too soon. So we had a couple 2 months of a really encouraging signs, and now I would say that the outlook is just a little bit uncertain. And we juxtapose that with the housing market that I'm sure you're experiencing, and it's very hot, right? The demand side is out there. They're at historic low rates. People are eager to buy, and we have just a paucity of properties for sale, and things are selling very, very rapidly. And as I told you last week, we had the highest median home price we've ever recorded in California with our June data. The Federal Reserve met this week, no change in rates, fully supportive. And the only other thing I want to mention, because I'm getting a lot more questions about foreclosures. Are we going to see a foreclosure experience like we did during the Great Recession? And one of the numbers that's like seared in my brain is that in January 2009, 60% of the closings in California were REO, right? That's when all we talked about was short sales. And again, the answer to that question depends on what assumptions you make, and it's all going to be determined by the virus and the government response. But Realty Track did do a webinar this week where they threw some reasonable estimates out, looking at over the next 18 to 24 months, 600,000 foreclosures. That would be about 60,000 in California. And if they all get sold, it would be about a 10% of sales. So I bring that to you just to let you know we're watching it. There's nothing definitive, but as people don't get the support that they had and they're not able to pay their mortgages and their rent, we're going to start to see some implications for the market. But, stay tuned till next week. It could all be different. So with that, let me turn things back over to Deborah, who's going to introduce Colleen.
Excellent. I always love that you wrap it up with a bow that says, let's talk next week. Don't worry too much about the negative things just yet. Like, things change. Well, pretty much every moment it feels like they're changing. Something's popping up. So that's why this could not be a more perfect Friday to have Colleen with us. You are a pillar of strength and consistency and loyalty in the industry. Let me read to you a little bit about Colleen. She is a 9th generation Californian and lifelong resident of the San Francisco Bay Area. She's a broker and over 4 decades has led both independent and franchise companies. I mean, the experience right there. Woo! She served as the treasurer for CAR and the president in 2007. Colleen has had a number of leadership positions at the National Association as well, including leading their Strat planning and MLS committees. And in 2018, she served under Elizabeth Mendenhall, who was a speaker for us at WomanUP in 2018. She was their VP of Association Affairs, one of only 2 non-elected members of the national leadership team. Welcome, 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 Colleen. How are you? What have you been up to?
I'm great. What am I up to? Just like everybody else, taking one day at a time and looking for the opportunities and trying not to focus too much on things that take you down a rat hole.
Ain't that the
Good
truth?
advice for all of us.
Woo! Absolutely. Colleen was also at our inaugural WomanUP. She shared her wisdom from the stage and was a part of our research. Our initial 30 interviews we've conducted. So thank you so much for championing WomanUP with us and just being a pillar of a role model and success for our community. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And speaking of leaders, we want to look at what leaders are doing, what opportunities are they seeing right now in the future and current. Colleen, what are you seeing? What are some opportunities?
Well, taking the role, say, from the perspective of a broker and leading a company or in a leadership role in an association, I think this is a great time to be able to show your value. Particularly for brokers. I think when things are going really well and, the market's healthy and the forms haven't changed in a few years and there's nothing new with short sales that I don't have to learn anything new, kind of the market we've had for a while, blessedly, up until a few months ago. Sometimes I think we sort of feel like, well, what would I need a broker for? Or, what's the role of a leader in a company or in a group or anything like that? But then all of a sudden, if there's a speed bump or there's a pothole or, there's a pandemic and things change on a minute, people kind of wake up and they get off kind of their autopilot. And I think the real opportunity in showing value is also, I think, that other people's minds are opened too. It's kind of like, it's not totally a sink or swim, but, all of a sudden, I think a lot of us were thrown, from the pool deck into the deep end of the pool. And all the talk that we'd had about, getting ourselves ready for the next wave of technology, and goodness knows over the last 30 years, I've seen not all of them that we're going to see, but seen a lot of them and had to surf that a lot. I think it woke us up to the fact that I think everybody at first, at least in my own area, was like, oh Lord, what's going to happen next? But then, like almost on a dime, people I think figured out that, oh wow, we already have, we've got Zip Forms Mobile, we've got this, we've got that, we already learned. We already absorbed the learning of e-signatures. We handled that. We've already absorbed how to, use social media to reach out to clients. Maybe we have a blog or a website that we post community information on. And I think all of a sudden people realize that, well, maybe this isn't the end of the world. There's so many more tools now to do our job. I don't want to downplay the effect, obviously, of the pandemic, but the other side of it is I've been just so gratified that it happened now, than 20 years ago. I think it would have had not just an effect on our business, but psychologically. I think the country psyche, without going sideways, is kind of, in a state of unrest right now anyway. But we would have had a lot more disjointed behavior and feelings and problems if we didn't have some ways to reach out and touch each other, even if it was virtual. And I think for the real estate business, I think we're probably about as well positioned from all the hard work we've all done for the last, 20 years anyway, to at least keep our heads above water. And then when you're breathing well, you can start seeing, the opportunities instead of worrying about drowning.
Absolutely. I mean, you just touched on so many things, and I just want to say the value of the broker has never been more strong today, and we're seeing that in our engagement with brokers, but also with brokers' engagement with their agents.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you touched on that and just focused on the silver lining. It's not downplaying the pandemic, but we can as leaders focus on the upside of what we're learning today. So I love that, Colleen. Thank you.
And I think the other thing is that you take a fresh look at things when you're, kind of like, okay, focus, and you refocus on your business. I think both from the broker perspective and the agent perspective. And then you can say, well, what was I doing that I just did it because I'd always done it? It was, is easier to roll down the hill than it was to, to turn. And what things should I have brought me no value, and I'm okay with dropping it.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Colleen, one of the things that I think has made you such a successful broker all these years is your background in education. Can you talk just a little bit about that before I ask you about challenges? Because I
Sure.
really do feel that's a huge part of what's going on with you.
So yeah, like I never actually started out to be in education, but my husband and I had, very long story short, had dated in college, and actually even before we met in speech and debate in high school. We didn't go to the same high schools, didn't go to the same colleges, but we kept up a relationship and a dating relationship and whatever. We got married, and like a lot of people in our generation, that was like, okay, so now what, And neither of our parents were particularly interested in paying for our master's degrees because we were the first generation in our families to graduate. So we said, okay, we wanted to go to graduate school, and we had these things we wanted to do, but no money. So we applied for something called the Teacher Corps, which I think now it's become morphed into Teach for America or some darn thing. Anyway, it was to put teachers into train teachers to work in underprivileged neighborhoods and things. And we said, oh, we'll go any place in the world. And we were thinking, oh, Tanzania or some darn thing. Anyway, we were assigned to San Diego. And neither of us had ever been to San Diego. And when we got there, we thought, "Ooh, this works for us really well." And we went to San Diego State. The government paid for us to get our master's, and we taught. So we got our credentials, and we got a master. We were able to get our master's degree over about 2.5 years, going both night and all summer and that sort of thing.
Wow.
And so then I was, my training there was in working in tough neighborhoods, basically, where the turnover was very high and school was not great. You learn to communicate. You learn you need to get people's attention. You need to be creative. You have to be on. And I was in education for 12 years. My last couple of things kind of evolved, and I went to not the other end of the spectrum, but I went into another specialty, which was gifted and talented education. And I ended up being the coordinator for a large school district in that area. But meanwhile, along the way, I had young children and didn't feel I was being paid what I was worth. And, education never has paid women what they're worth. So I just said, either this is what I need to be paid, and if you can't do it, I'm out. And of course, I knew they were going to say I was out, so I was out. And then I transitioned into real estate at that point, but it was
I don't know. I've just always thought that was such an incredible foundation, though, for what you do with all the agents, right? Because you're always like the go-to person.
Well, and you have to really be on, and you have to be able to meet people where they are, get to know them well enough. One of the years I had, like 33 second graders, and the kids were not the same at the beginning of the years. There was a lot of turnover, a lot of renters, and kids who wouldn't come because they had to take care of a baby at home, and had a lot of things going on. So I think you learn to really try to get to know the people that you're working with and their strengths, their weaknesses, their heartaches, that sort of thing.
So what have been some of the challenges that you've encountered the last couple of months? It's certainly been a unique time in the business.
Well, blessedly, you know, I no longer have the responsibility. For example, if the receptionist calls in sick, I don't have to do that anymore. I think the challenge of the current moment, and I've faced it before, is to not make your decisions fear-based. My antidote to that is to maybe be over prepared. You know, I mean, whether, you know, I want to learn everything that I can about something, and so that I feel that I have a level of mastery, so I'm comfortable with it. So in terms of, you know, with the company and things, that, you know, I can't thank CAR enough for the resources through this, you know, the Friday meetings that they've had with the brokers, and all the things that have come out of that. I'm not sure where everybody would be without such, all that fabulous support. But I think,
It's
you
been
know,
a moment
running
of truth
a
for the
business at this point,
association, for
you
sure.
can't be fear-based. That doesn't mean
Right.
you don't acknowledge what's out there. God knows you walk out and you have to put a mask on, and you walk home and you wash your hands while you sing happy birthday, you know, twice or whatever the deal is. And you know that, and certainly the whole issue of people coming into offices, again, I think this has hit us maybe at a sweet spot. I think a lot of brokers before this were looking at how much square footage do you need? What should it look like? Most agents do their work at kitchen tables, and now they can do a kitchen table thing over Zoom. So I think that the challenge has been really to feel comfortable, knowing the lay of the land, what's changed, what hasn't changed. You know, certainly obviously everybody's had to get used to whole new sets of procedures and things like that. But it wasn't like we had to learn to do, to do tours, virtual tours. It wasn't like that was in other words, most of the things that are going on a lot right now are tools that we sort of already had under our belt. It was just maybe putting the recipe together a little differently,
Yeah.
maybe you added a little more of the virtual tour, or gee, I didn't know how to use Zoom, but blessedly Zoom is pretty simple usually. Is usually pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And so I think that transition was easier than it certainly would have been even 5 years ago. And I'm in Silicon Valley, so I guess the other thing is that I think the realtors in our area have always felt they had one of the ways they could show their value to their clients is by at least being able to use technology as a tool to give them more information or enhance their understanding or something. Although I do remember one time sitting at somebody's table. It was a gentleman, and I think he was a single gentleman, but at any rate, it was when we really just kind of gotten into being able to do CMAs with the pictures, and we kind of challenged all, got through that whole challenge and everything. And I'm sitting there with him, and I pulled all this stuff out, and he sort of looks at it. He goes, I've done some programming on things like this. I mean, he just thought, he was going right through and looking at the code kind of a thing, and was appreciating it from a code point of view. And I was like, oh, all right, well, whatever works for you, But it was, and it was
We spoke the same language.
So yeah, I mean, so I do think there are challenges, but I think again, I think knowledge is power. I think not operating out of fear, and everybody has their own way about that. Maybe we can talk about, self-management, I think, is always at the core of so many things.
Yeah. Well, you started off with the advice of showing your value, right? And I think that we're
the audio.
Oops.
I don't have the audio.
Okay.
We'll get you set back up.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me pop her out and pop her back in. Hold on. Let's see.
Hang with us, people.
Hang with us. Oh, what is Facebook doing today? Little monkeys.
Facebook is. Hello, Amira, Sabrina.
Can you hear us now? Oh, shoot. What the heck is going on?
Claudia, comma. While she gets set up,
Yeah,
we've had the best time with Facebook technology today. Just want you all to know. Hi, Amy, Diana, Nikki, Sarah. I know you. Okay, so you can hear us, but Colleen can't. So that's our problem, right?
So we're trying to get her set up. So while
I have no sound.
Oh, now we hear you.
we
You're
I can't
back.
hear you.
she can't
She
hear
can't
us.
hear us.
Do you have a headset?
No, I don't have it.
Do you have a headset? No.
That is so bizarre.
It's like I said, it's likely the API with Facebook. They just monkey around with it. I put something in the chat. She can't hear us. Let's see. Oh,
Here, I'll send it. You know what I'll do is
do you want to send her? Because if she goes out and comes back in, it'll likely shift it. While you're doing that, then Leslie, I would love for us to share with everyone your experience inside Verbella.
I can't hear you.
Are you texting her, Sarah?
Hi, everybody. I actually went into Verbella yesterday, and I am not in any way, shape, or form, as you can probably imagine, anything resembling a gamer. I do not know how to do any of this. So I just want anyone who's in my boat to really have a great experience. I think you should start now. And Deborah's going to tell you all the things that we have set up to kind of figure it out, because I don't think it's really hard. It's just getting used to being comfortable, and even like how to walk, how to sit. I mean, because I just feel like there's going to be the younger, cool kids, and then there's going to be my group. And I think that it's probably just not going to know how to move and how to do things. So the thing that was really great is I walked into it, and I kind of walked over to this thing that said information booth. And all of a sudden I heard this guy was standing there, and then this voice came in, and his name was Dorian. And I said, "Are you a real person or are you a robot?" He said, "I'm a real person." And I told him I was going to be presenting. So we walked over to the auditorium, and he went through the whole thing. You know, I sat in the front, and he's showing me how to show slides and whatever. So it was a little bit like, oh my God, but it's really exciting. It's very cool. Just have fun with it, but start early. Don't wait till the morning of September 1st to kind of get into it. That would be my advice.
That's it. Well, that's so true. And so for those of the first few hundred of people who have already signed up for tickets have already gotten their first email from us that basically has the download link. So if you were one of the first to purchase your tickets over the last few weeks, or if you even bought it last year at the event, check your email. But I also just dropped in the page on our Facebook or on our website. It's IamWomanUp.com/2020-location. And there's a video, there's a link to download. There's all sorts of ways that you can explore it. And the fun part is the Woman Up team is on Wednesdays from 12 to 1. At least one or two of us will be there in Verbella for you to come in and walk around the space. Also, as soon as Woman Up World's private island is created, we'll be able to host kind of a pre-event there. And where we would normally be doing a pre-event in person to, you know, maybe snack on cheese and drink wine outside, we'll be in there helping each other figure out how to get to the beach in your avatar. So we've got you covered. We'll have a series of webinars, walking you through there through our perspective, through our avatars, so that we have multiple ways of you getting comfortable in there. Because to Leslie's point, once you are comfortable in there, it's so much fun. And people can actually engage with you like person to person. And people you don't know who, if you're, say, at the hotel or at a conference center, you might be walking down the hall inside the open campus, they might wave at you. Sarah and I were in there earlier this week with Georgia and Paula on the team, having our team meeting. And this gentleman, Alberto Rivera, saunters by our table on the beach and just kind of looked over and kind of kept walking. We were thinking maybe he's going to do a break dance or wave or something. But it was still that kind of oh, look, there's somebody else here. Hi there. And you go on with your meeting. So the fun part about it is that it's different. And, I had a meeting with Sherry Chris yesterday, a Zoom meeting. There were no in-person or unmasked events happening. We met on Zoom, and she was about ready to jump out of the screen. She was getting so excited about all the things that she wanted to do inside the virtual world. So stay tuned for whatever, Sherry's kind of cooking up with us, because when she's involved, it's fabulous. So I think that it's about getting comfortable and having some fun inside there. Oops, it looks like we may have, can you hear us? Yes, I'm bringing you and Sarah back in. Here we go. Can you hear us?
So I don't know what happened.
Yay! She's back. She's back. Well, again, we are women. Hear us roar. We will not let technology take us away from the moment and from our divine guest. So let's roll. I was saying how perfect when you started, you said it's such a great time to show your value. And I really believe that, for instance, even in the teaching world, I think parents never understood how valuable teachers were before the pandemic. I believe that consumers realize the value of agents as well. Mm-hmm. Those who understood the tools, those who maybe weren't using virtual tours like you mentioned all the time, but at least had enough knowledge to say, hey, let's do this. And they pivoted and helped them sell their property. So what other types of resources and advice do you find that you're sharing most right now, Colleen?
Well, I've always been a big proponent of, you have to know yourself and you have to build on your strengths. And you have to allow yourself time to kind of grow. I guess it's because I'm an introvert. Like, it turns out a lot more people are introverts than in our business than maybe you'd think. But I've always been one of those people that kind of needed time to kind of let things percolate. And I'd want to read not maybe one book on, the Medicis. I'd read 3 different perspectives on it, and then that would lead me down a path to, well, I got to find out more about Michelangelo or something. I always wanted to kind of be able to see a larger picture than just maybe the thing that was right in front of me. And I think right now that's something that maybe we have the time to do that we didn't have time before. I see people, I think a shout out to Vanessa Bergman. She was talking about owls, and she's one of the most urban of gals, Yeah. And, Chris Kutsky sent me pictures of owls that were, when would we ever be even noticing what was going on around us?
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think this is, it would be a shame to come out of, this experience and not felt like we did learn a little bit more about ourselves and how we feel about what we want to do in the world, and where our priorities are. One of the things I've always struggled with, and I'm probably not alone, is balance. And I don't think there is exactly such a thing as ever being in perfect balance. It's not there. But I think you know when you're not in balance, or way out of balance. Let's put it that way. When when things really start getting tippy like that, then you're not thinking as clearly as you need to, and you're not making maybe the right decisions for your company or whatever. I think for brokers right now, and certainly agents as well, you've got to know the numbers in your business. We have all kinds of, we in our company we use Lone Wolf, but other people use other things. There's a million different ways. But I think if you don't know what's going on, you're going to have more anxiety than if you actually
Yeah.
have a pretty good handle on things. Then you can make clear decisions and not make them out of, oh, what might happen, or what's going to happen next, or I don't know what's going to happen. At least in our business, you can watch pendings, you can watch incoming listings, you can see which agents are not engaging and reach out to them. So I think you have to, be able to look at your business from a 2,000 or 3,000 foot level from time to time, so that you know where you need to put your energy. And many of us have, we have partners or spouses or children or parents that we're responsible for, and they're going to need a certain amount of time too. So, one of the things I always struggled with was keeping enough, a little bit of what I called a white space, okay, in my calendar. I know some trainers would say, oh, you've got to schedule every 5 minutes, but I never was a proponent of that. And as our company grew, I actually, I had an office at the office, but I really started spending about 1 day a week. It usually was Wednesdays. At home, just kind of going through the things I needed to look at again at the business from a higher 2,000 or 3,000 square foot 3,000 foot level, because what I called in the office is stand up time. It was just, you're reacting, you're responding, you're engaging, you're coaching, you're doing these things, and that's really important. But even if you have other people in your company that have other responsibilities that are complementary to yours, my experience has been that a lot of time is not spent just kind of pulling back a little bit and taking that look from a few thousand feet up to say, okay, do we, or are we using our time in the best way? I always
Right.
had that thing about, what's the best use of my time right now?
Right.
And it isn't always to be busy.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't that true? Busy's like a
Mhm.
4-letter word. It
Yeah.
should be.
It should be.
It can,
It
yeah,
can be.
it can be a trap. It
Yeah.
can be,
Yeah.
Right.
it can be a way to avoid actually thinking about what what's the urgent versus the important,
Right.
that kind of a thing. And so I'd pull myself at home, and it wasn't every week, but my goal was 70 or 80% of the time I would follow. It was a very structured kind of a schedule, but it did involve time to, read about the industry, or look at the financial reports, or evaluate what the training was, take a look at the business plan, that sort of thing. And certainly when things are, when they're going really well, it's easy to think, um, that the reason they're going really well is because you're doing everything perfectly. Well, maybe not. Maybe you're just maybe you just got the right wave right now.
Oh my God.
Well, it's
There were
the
a lot of people that thought they were brilliant from time to time, and then
Absolutely.
market conditions changed. I don't know if we have time. I wanted to inject just one stream of thought, because I'm always fascinated by people's partnerships and marriages and all that kind of stuff. And I know you and Dennis both so well, and you're both very strong in different ways. Clearly
Right.
you complement each other, but you are both high powered, intelligent, successful people. I never get the feeling that one takes a backseat to the other, ever. So how do you make that work?
For us, it really hasn't been hard. And I've done some thinking about that, because people ask that from time to time. we first met when we were about 15 or 16, and we weren't at the same schools. Like I say, we met through speech and debate. So, he would say, oh, well, I kicked your, what? And I'd say, oh, no, absolutely not. And then I branched out and he did more debate and I did more extemporaneous and impromptu speaking and things like that. So we weren't always going head to head. But I think there was a lot of kind of mutual intellectual respect from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he knew what he was getting into, and so did I, from that point of view.
Yeah.
But we didn't go to the same schools. We didn't go to the same colleges. I spent, a year in Vienna, Austria, my junior year of college, and we both, I think, always allowed ourselves the opportunity to grow and be who we are and not say, well, this is the path obviously where we're going to live or a few things like that, we'd have to be mutually acceptable on. But in terms of other things, I don't try to tell, it's much more collaborative.
Well, there's respect, there's collaboration. And
yeah.
Are you both pretty good listeners?
I would say I'm a better listener than he is, but
I love it. Yes. Yes, Colleen. I want to go back to something you said earlier because it stuck with me, and that was like, I don't believe in the white space, and I struggle with that. I mean, I struggle with having enough time in the day to take care of everything that I need to take care of for that day, and then the next day is like Groundhog Day. So, what advice would you give to somebody like me who's struggling right now to get a handle of her calendar?
Don't expect perfection. I mean, I know where you are. I mean, my kids were very young, I mean, I've worked basically my whole adult life, and gone through, adding, a couple of kids and switching careers and getting more responsibility and having, and so I don't want you to think that all the time there isn't that I follow that schedule. And it's a lot easier now, but I will tell you, just as, as a warning to look ahead, is, there's no better time that you can spend with your kids. And that shouldn't ever be taken as, a less valuable time than the time that you invest anyplace else.
Yes.
And the other side of that is they will grow up and then don't go crazy like I did when the youngest one went off to college, and I became a worse workaholic, instead of just balancing the kids and the office and the association things. I felt like, wow, the youngest was off to college. And so I put all that extra energy into the company until one night I remember coming home and that was when I actually was more in danger, I think, of burning out, because I had to say, kind of render to Caesar the things that are Caesar and to God the things that are God.
Yes.
And I could work 48 hours a day, 9 days a week, but I can't. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I for you, like Sarah, in your situation, all the time that you invest in yourself and your children is the best because it will make you show up better in everything else you do.
Right.
That's so good. Well, and you know what I love about what you just said, Colleen, is you spoke to Sarah as a mom and you spoke to me as a woman with no kids. Because I am you after the kids left. I look up and I'm like, oh my God, it's like 18 hours I've been working today. How did that happen? So I love that. Like, I'm crying for totally different reasons than Sarah's crying. Thank you for that. I needed a good cry.
I know.
Oh goodness. Oh my goodness.
But you guys are all doing what you're doing because you love it. But the trick is, there you have other parts of your, we're all more than our careers, or we're more than, whatever it is. And I find that the things that I do offline enrich who I am when I'm having to show up in a business role.
Right.
Yes. So beautiful. Oh, we're at that time, ladies, where even with all the craziness, it is time for us to go.
It's so great.
So if after all the things we've talked about today, Colleen, is there some bit of wisdom that you want to sprinkle over all of us as we head into the weekend?
Well, okay. Leslie knows that when I was in leadership, I always had different mantras or different themes and things. And I'm not at my home desk, but I have all these little sticky notes. And when I find something I love, I keep it. And a couple of them that kind of have hit me lately over the years the last year is, one of them is always be yourself, because the people that mind don't matter and the people that matter don't mind. And the other one, I guess, would be don't give up on a dream because the amount of time it will take to accomplish it, because the time will pass anyway.
Right.
Colleen, can I just say that I shared the be yourself with my daughter the other day, and I didn't add the people that matter won't mind, but I'm going to, and I just want my daughter to know that she is perfect the way she is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really resonates. And thank you so much. You've spread so much wisdom today.
Yes.
Well,
Amen.
Thank you for having me.
This was fun. It was quite a wild ride.
Thank you for all the years of support, Colleen. And you and I are peers pretty much, and now we have this whole next gen with Sarah, Deborah, and then coming behind them as well. It never stops, and it's just wonderful to share this with you. It's a wonderful position to be in, to see the fruits of all the labor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So good. Well, and I love that our ladies who are stepping into their third act and who are refiring into this amazing new season aren't leaving us, that they're still pouring into those of us in our second act as we prepare to bring, the women who are in their 20s and their early 30s into the space. So I love that we're linking arms generation to generation as well. I think that's so beautiful. Yeah. So beautiful. There are so many things that are happening inside the community that we can really support each other. We've got the mentor program for those of you who are thinking, wow, I need someone like Colleen in my life. We have the mentor platform. Go over there and check it out. There are amazing women who are ready to share their wisdom with you, for you, through you, to you, whatever it is that you need for a reason, season, or lifetime. That's what this community is about. So go check that out. I do want to give a couple of our sponsors a shout out, because we are, even though it's not August, it's almost August. And so we usually do this about the 5 weeks before the event, but Realtor.com has been so amazing. They are a gold sponsor for us this year. They have done so many amazing things with us over the years, our meetups and events in the past. So thanks to Marcy for making that happen. And then to Engel and Volkers. So Engel and Volkers America and Sandra, Engel and Volkers Santa Monica, who are diamond sponsors this year, who have really leaned in. Ladies, we could not do this without you. So thank you so much for all you do. For those of you who haven't gotten your tickets, you know what we're going to say. I am WomanUP.com. Go get your tickets. We'll see you here next Wednesday. I know that Leslie and Sarah have budgets all week next week. God bless them as they do that. So it will be me next Wednesday. As Sarah mentioned, we'll be with Brenda. We're going to be talking about the scholarship and some other really cool programs. So we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. If you need us, you know where to find us.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.